Just trying to think of a good commercial jingle to open up with, but I didn't have one in my head, so
Unclaimed freight.
perfect. Yeah, no, I had this idea, and only because I had this annoying commercial jingle. I say annoying. Annoying's probably a good word for it. Commercial jingle pop up in one of my playlists. I was like, my God, I haven't heard that in such a long time. And it just made me think, it's like, oh, we've never really talked ads or commercials ever in all the pods we've ever done.
Which is funny that this happened to come up when it did, because we were actually talking about this the other night. The what was it? The FREE, that spells free creditreport.com, baby.
Yeah,
You remember that one where
yep.
the dude's talking about how he's like riding around in a piece of crap car because he didn't get a credit check or a free credit report?
Yeah. And that's the thing, though. Like you just said it there. And the one that popped in my playlist was the Education Connection. Do you remember?
Yeah, we were talking about that one too.
Yep, and that's the thing. It's an earworm. You can't say that it's awful. You can say it's annoying, but I would say the reason why you can't say it's awful is because they did their job.
Right.
I mean,
it still sucks.
It does, but they did their job. It's stuck. Now it's part of culture, basically.
Like a goddamn 1877 cars for kids. I hate that commercial. I hate it.
And that's the thing. It's like you have these earworms, these jingles. Did we talk about that briefly on a pod one time about music artists writing? We did.
Recently, yeah, we did. Yeah.
Maybe that's the thing. Maybe it just got put in the zeitgeist in the back of your head, and boom. No, that's the thing though. Like you have these earworms, you have these little jingles, you have whatever, and they just get stuck. And that's the whole point. Trying to sell the product, they're trying to have you visit their site, whatever they're trying to do. And but there's been so many good ones, so many bad ones. Obviously, we'll touch on Super Bowl ones, and then ones that like they almost like full blown storylines because they continue for years and years and years. Mm-hmm. Like the or like almost like they have their own show, like the dang
like Geico Cavemen.
Exactly. Or even the
own show.
Yeah, I mean seriously, even the dang little gecko. I mean, think about how many ads that thing's been in over the years.
Well, and then you have advertising mascots that started like the cavemen that started as advertising mascots and became such either a cultural touchstone or someone saw something in them that was extremely marketable and turned them into their own show or their own video game or comic book or cartoon or whatever. And so you've got these originally, commercial mascots just popping up, and you're like, wait, why does that have a video game, or why does that have a toy or a TV show? And I can think back to when we were younger, at least 3 off the top of my head that got their own shows and then, went from there.
You said video game, and that reminded me. The first one I could recall that was an ad turned into a video game. Let's see if we're on the same page here. Because it happened when we were kids.
Noid.
Yep. There was a PC, Avoid the Noid.
Yeah. There was one for the NES too.
Yeah, 1989 is the PC release on that. And I remember that distinctly because it would pop, I believe it would pop up in the shareware catalogs, like right next to like Commander Keen and
well, I never played the PC one. Was the PC one different from the NES one?
I'm sure it's very similar. I'm popping up through the Wikipedia on it now, or at least say the Wikipedia, but the Google searches on it. There was a 1989 PC game. It came out for the PC, so DOS and Commodore 64 actually, in 1989. And that was called Avoid the Noid. And then you're right. There was a Noid MES game, and that was called Noid. That came out in 1990. So it was a year later. I'll be honest with you, I don't know the differences, although the Noid game was like a lot of other NES games based off of a Japanese engine, game engine, and so
Yep.
it was kind of localized, which happens a lot. So that's not a
Oh yeah.
surprise.
Yeah.
But
So
the funny thing though on that, I'm curious though, the Noid game, you know who the publisher was on that?
Capcom.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, no, I've actually so I watched a I'm trying to think of which channel it was, but I'd go down the YouTube rabbit hole on some of this stuff and I'll watch like different creators have different stuff like there's this one called Region Locked where they
Mhm.
take a look at games that came out both in the United States and Japan, look at Noid, and they were like, well, this is a completely different game in Japan versus the United States and North America. It had a lot of the same stuff, but when you look at it through the lens of what came out in Japan, it makes a lot more sense. The game makes a lot more sense than what it does in the United States with all of the Noid stuff shoehorned in.
Right. Yeah. No kidding. That's the crazy thing. Like I said, was very commonplace for video games anyway. And so
Yeah.
if you go back to the original, you can actually honestly see why it was that way. Um, so there's a perfect example of the Noid was a really I'd say popular is probably the word may be annoying, but I think there was a purpose to that. So you'd remember who it was,
Yes.
and popped up in Domino's commercials left and right. Uh, Man, I can't remember a Domino's commercial from that time as a kid without the Noid in it.
Oh, I love the Noid. Oh, the
You
Noid was
know,
fantastic.
so yeah, no, I mean that's like a perfect example of something that was like became part of culture.
Right.
The Noid at the time was so in the other was another one you mentioned with TV shows, and the same breath, the California Raisins.
Yep. That was one of the ones I was thinking of.
And again, it's like, you know, I remember having like toys and this was a commercial. I mean, this wasn't anything like I'm just trying to think. They weren't maybe like little figurines or something, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
Um,
they made little so it was little claymation dudes.
yeah. I just looked up pictures. Yep,
Yep.
exactly. I had a few. I probably still have some in my garage.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude. I know my mom had like 20 of them at her house at one point from all the kids being there and just leave them. But it was kind of like the PVC, kind of like the old LJN wrestler guys that we all used to have. And but they were small. Actually, I have a couple Philly Fanatics that from that same era that are about the same thing as what the California Raisins were.
Oh yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's
Got them at
crazy.
Acme.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. At the Acme.
Acme,
Yeah.
Acme. But yeah, no. So and again, going all the way back to their start, it was based off of the 1986 Sunmaid commercial,
Yeah.
obviously for raisins, and then they turned into like this pop culture phenomenon, much like
And
the
they,
Noid.
and they also, I don't remember if it ever came out, but it either came out and it was in very small quantities, or it was in or it was never released. But there was supposed to be a California Raisins NES game.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm not familiar with that one. Oh
So
yeah, the
it was
California
called
raisins, the Grape Escape.
Yeah. So it was developed, it was canceled. It was
That is
canceled in North
unreleased.
America. So it was supposed to come out.
Another Capcom game, by the way.
Yeah. Dude, Capcom was so good for all of these. They were like the anti LJN, where they would come out with these licensed games that were awesome. If you look at any of the NES games that came out from them, and it was the like the Disney games, they
Mhm.
were fantastic. Like, there's not a bad one in the bunch. But then they get fucking LJN, and LJN makes the only X-Men game that no one ever wants to play.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And they make a Wolverine game where you lose health because you have your claws out. What the fuck?
Is there a Game Genie code for that one?
Yeah, the Game Genie code is called "Take the game, throw it in the trash, and enjoy the rest of your day."
But yeah, no. Talking about the California Raisins Great Escape game, on the Wikipedia entry, there's a beta cartridge that was sold for a grand. So there's some stuff out there, and that was going back to I think 2006.
Yeah.
Wow. So
I
yeah,
want to know when that beta cartridge sold. Did the
yeah,
beta cartridge sell in 2006?
I think so. I'm trying to find the reference to that. Apparently, the reference was the reference goes back to 2006. So, Retro Inspection NES, Retro Gamer. I was trying to pull up the Internet Archive on it, but it's not going anywhere. So, I'm not entirely certain on that, but that's it. I would assume that the sale was made at least to that point or prior to it. You know,
It says on oh my god, January 21st, 2003
when the sale was made.
is when it was discovered in Florida,
There you go.
of all fucking places. Jesus Christ. Of course it was found in fucking Florida. God, I hate Florida so much. But it was I'm trying to think. It was sold, I think it was sold in 2014.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay.
I think the guy, I could be wrong, but I think the guy sold it in 2014. Let me see here. It was hanging at Rhino Games. It's going to trade in Dragon Warrior 2 for 50 cents. So it was a woman and her son came in. They had a lot of carts. She said that, or they said the guys told her they can't take 4 of her carts because they all have homemade labels. Mega Man 2, Platoon, a game which name I will never remember, and a game that said Raisins. And this guy was a Capcom collector and said that it had a label that said Return to Capcom.
Huh.
And he said, "Hey, I'll buy that from you." And she gave it to him because she was going to trade in a copy of Dragon Warrior 2, and they were only going to give her 50 cents. And he told her to put it on eBay, and she would get more money.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
She said, let's see. She got them for a friend of hers that used to work at some gaming company and gave them to her as a gift for when her son was old enough. So they were all prototypes, but he only recognized the California Raisins as being an actual prototype. And he didn't realize that it was an unreleased game. So he got it for free and then ended up, I guess at that point he sold it. So I don't know. It doesn't say. It doesn't say what he describes it as, a much less exciting Mega Man.
I found a again. Look, I don't know. Gotta take this for what it's worth. Internet unseen64.net. This goes back to 2008, and they talk about the reason why it was canceled. And this makes a lot of sense, but I don't know that. It says even though the game was finished, at the end it quietly got dropped, and it said probably because of a scandal involving toxins found in the raisins. Now I don't know if the guy's being funny or that was actually something that happened back then. I don't really know.
The wiki said that it was because of dwindling popularity of the characters, which I get, but I feel like that
you get finished game, you'd release it though. I mean,
right. I don't. I mean, well, Nintendo though, Nintendo had Star Fox 2 finished for the 64 and didn't make it.
True. Good point.
So, I mean, that could have been prohibitive cost, though, because they would have had to add the extra SFX chip and all that stuff. So who knows? Who knows? It could go
Yeah, there could be a lot of things. It could be a licensing thing.
Right.
Who knows? I mean, I don't know. It's interesting though. But yeah, so you mentioned you had a couple of other ones at the top of your head though about turning into shows. What were those? What were those?
Rude Dog. Do you remember the cartoon Rude Dog and the Dweebs?
Rude Dog. No, I don't know this one.
So
yeah. Okay, yeah.
yeah.
So I had to look up a picture and I see it now. Yes.
So Rude Dog was a clothing was a clothing brand or whatever.
Yes.
And became a TV show, a cartoon, Saturday morning cartoon, no less.
Yeah, I do remember. Wow. No kidding.
Yeah. How about the Incredible Crash Dummies?
Oh yeah, dude. I still have probably some toys sitting in my garage on that one.
Yeah, they were so big. They had video games. They had toys. They had cartoons. I'm fairly certain they had a live action something or another. But I know that obviously the commercials were live action. But what was that? The National Highway Transportation Safety Board or something like that?
Yeah, I would believe it was the NTSB or the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Yeah, that's what it was. That was the early iteration. Were centered on Vince and Larry, the spokes dummies, from a commercial that aired in early of either aired or was in process of being created in 1991.
What's crazy to me is, do you remember much about the toys at all?
Yeah, they had little buttons on them, like the little dummies, and like their appendages in their head, I think, would fly off, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And there was like a car that you could put them in, and of course running into stuff, and it had crumple zones, and it was supposed to be akin to what would happen in a car wreck,
Right.
Much like their commercials, like hit a wall at 40 miles an hour and see what happens.
Except for, I don't think that it was having the intended consequence or the intended what's the word I'm looking for here? Yeah, because do you remember some of the toys? There was a dog, there was a baby, and you would press the button on the baby and the head would fly off. It came in a baby carriage, like a little stroller.
Yes, it did. I'm looking that up now. It's so good.
Like some of these toys, I'm like, man, I don't know. You're kind of, maybe that's why everybody's such a shitty driver now, because all the kids were our age and you're playing with these freaking Incredible Crash Dummies, and hey, let's see if I can make the baby's head fly across the room this time. And he's just running into shit. Like,
pull up this guy's got like it's like a drive shaft. What does he have as his accessory? What the heck? Yeah, some of these are crazy to look at though. You're right. Yeah, the baby in the stroller. They had basically what's akin to okay, you remember the wrestling buddies?
Yeah.
So the Crash Test Dummies had those too, except theirs almost looks like a voodoo doll.
Jesus Christ.
Like that's creepy. Yeah, that's wild. That's a really good one because I remember having there was I want to say my car that I had with it was red.
Yeah.
And then I remember having a couple. That. Yeah, I remember having a couple of figurines. That's all I have to do is run it into the wall.
Yeah. My brother Ryan had some of the Crash Dummy stuff. I didn't get any of the Crash Dummy stuff. I think I was still in the Ninja Turtles at that point. But I remember him having some of the Crash Dummies, and I'm like, what the hell? These things are fucked up.
Yeah, and what's wild about it though, which was different to the California Raisins, the Noid, those that we've already discussed, is that those were from companies.
Right.
Those were businesses. This was essentially something from the government.
Right.
It's a government agency now that's taking and creating toys that, like you said, had a baby and a stroller that was able to pop out and fly out. And
it's like if the DEA made a Dare cartoon and there was action figures for it with real OD action.
Exactly. That's absolutely wild. Now, hold on though. Maybe I'm wrong in this, but there has to be a complimentary. Yes, there is. There was a video game.
Yeah, oh yeah, it came up for NES.
Yeah. Actually, there was.
NES or Super Nintendo.
So here it was released for. Actually, this is why here's the insane thing. It was an Acclaim game for one.
Oh Christ!
It was released for the Genesis, the Super, or the SNES, the NES, the Game Gear, and overseas in various other formats as well. But and also like apparently it was an Amiga game as well. Just odd. But yeah, no. So you had a video game based on that, and just absolutely wild. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that. Like, who thought that was the best idea for kids television series and toys? And I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like we could come up with better shit than that.
I know. It's just it's crazy because, like I said, you had this basically government agency that boom, just I don't know. But again, that's what happens. That was basically something that went viral, and obviously predated what we know now as viral things on the internet, and boom, took off, and wow, yeah. I mean, heck, I had toys.
Yeah.
But that era was so weird with stuff. And the other thing too, like you also had in that same era, you had SNL's notorious for it, making their like fun of, their little skits that were commercials. They were making fun of stuff. They obviously still do it now, but they were doing it. The one that distinctly sticks in my head was a Sandler and Chris Farley, the Schmidt's Gay Beer, which was supposed to be a riff on like, I don't know, just to basically pick your poison, Miller Lite, Bud Light, whatever. But because back then all those commercials had the bikini clad women, and they took the skit, and it was now we could talk about does it hold up or not. Times have changed, but for the time, it's hysterical the way they presented it. And but SNL had a notorious way of doing that with things. So they would take these basically products that were very popular and be like, you know what, we're gonna burn it to the ground, and basically, and that's what they're making fun of.
Right.
Like they're basically making fun of like, oh well, yeah, well our beer does this,
Yeah.
and it's and it's just, but that's the thing. It's like those parts of like culture that they just kind of resonate with you and they stick. Before we get into some of the good ones, because I know you and I got to be thinking of some of like the same things for top of the list items here. Are there any that like just really you just hated, like you just not like it all, or annoying, or
the Ticket Oak? Yeah, I know it doesn't really reach the the jingle or whatever, but the StubHub Ticket Oak.
Oh yeah,
it's so fucking creepy. Like it looked like it was going to come through your TV and eat your soul.
Yeah, that thing was oof. Yeah. If you're listening to this, just do yourself a favor and Google image search StubHub Ticket Oak, and you'll have nightmares for a while.
I mean, and then like the Pepsi commercials from back in the day where it was Dallas Cowboys players.
Yeah, well, that's
Fuck
Dallas. Yeah. Trying to think the ones that like, I'm sure you have them down there too, but we get those goofy local commercials.
Yeah.
All the time. And
oh my God. You just triggered a memory for me. So when I first moved down here late at night on Cartoon Network and Comedy Central and stuff, they would run the local access commercials and stuff. And there was this one for a party company, and they had all the knockoff characters. And the only one that really sticks in my head is it was supposed to be SpongeBob SquarePants, but it was like janky as fuck. And they called him the Sponge Boy. And they would be like, and Sponge Boy.
Like, wait a minute.
Every fucking time. It would hit me and I would laugh.
Yeah. And I can't think of any like here that stick with me, because almost every time like a local commercial comes up, I just laugh.
Right.
Because it's like they pick the bottom of the barrel, to act in it or whatever. And I don't know, but maybe that's their whole game. You know what I mean?
No. You know what? This is what I believe. This is what did it for us too. That brought it up at work. So I'm gonna share this and make sure your audio's up, kids, because you're really gonna love this one. Let me go to it here. Okay.
Hey kid, would you like some drugs? The first one is free.
Want to check out my van? I got some candy.
Hey kid, you want to join our gang and spray paint under a bridge?
No, bug off, man. I'm going roller skating. I want to be addicted to roller skating, not crack. Because we roller skate today, we will go to college tomorrow. Prison is full of people that has never roller skated.
I'm Brad Armstrong, owner of Roller Kingdom in Reno, Nevada, keeping your kids off the streets since 1999.
I say no to drugs. I say no to gangs.
I say no to unplanned pregnancy.
I say no to meth. I say no to reefer. I say yes to roller skating.
Man, this Roller Kingdom is really putting us out of business.
You said it, man. This deal sucks.
But you know what? Maybe we should give up this life of crime and start roller skating!
I just speed it up for the old guy walking in. So, for those of you who were not watching that with us, go to rollerkingdom.org and look up the commercials on there. They're right on the front page. Or you can go to YouTube and see them on there. I had completely forgotten about that commercial, and then somebody sent it to me again at work the other night.
That's so good. Roller Kingdom. Where's that from?
It's in Reno, Nevada.
Nevada. Okay. Wow.
And it's real. I thought it was a joke at first. And
Yeah,
I
it's
had to
almost
look
like
it up.
it's almost like a skit.
Right. I was like, what show is this from? I thought it was from Wonder Chosen or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's real.
Yeah, like I said, it looks like watching. I'm like, I'm waiting for it had, like I said, it has that SNL feel to it. So I'm waiting for someone that I recognize,
Right.
To pop up on it. But yeah, it's weird. So the local stuff is it's nutty because you have these people that basically just the business owners that are doing it, and they're goofing on whatever. And they're just trying to draw your attention because they know they can't do it with the flashy graphics or the big actors or whatever they're trying to do. And I don't know, some of them are pretty memorable, but some of the ones though that they had a local one around here that they would sell mattresses, and it was this family, and it was this guy, and it's like I felt so bad for the kids because it was almost like, man, they've got to be forced to say these lines. And it was a different commercial every 6-8 weeks. And you could tell as the kids got older, they got less interested. And I mean, eventually they ended up selling their business and reopening another mattress thing and doing the same thing years later. And, these kids were well out of high school at this point. It's absolutely wild how bad they are, but very memorable because they ran all the time.
So
in so many different ways of it too.
My cousin Gordy was actually in one of them. So my uncle Gordon had a car dealership up in Oxford, Pennsylvania, Country Chrysler, and Gordy was always in the ads. And in the one ad, they did this thing where he blew up the dealership because they were rebuilding. So when he would go to school, all the kids would know him from TV, from seeing him on these commercials, on these local access commercials. So I don't know if they're still up on the internet or anything anywhere. I've got to find them at some point because I told Peyton I would show them. But he was it would be so funny seeing my cousin on TV.
I've got to interject real quick. So Tommy was he's still up and he was over by me and acting like he needed something. So I handed him my phone and I said, "Pipe what you need." and he wrote, he said, I wanted to ask, can I play with the exploding car? I said, it's in a box somewhere in the garage. So if I find it, yes.
Yeah. That's fun.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, as we talk about these local ones, though, there are some iconic ones that I mean, look, we could go about. Everyone knows, like, oh yeah, the Budweiser frogs and all that crap. I guess we could dive into those, but the one that always sticks in my head, and it's not a funny commercial. It's supposed to be sentimental, but it airs all the time. At least it aired for years. I don't know if it still does. There's a Folgers commercial, and the guy's coming home from the service, I think.
Yeah.
And I remember that airing originally in the 80s, and I remember it airing up until about 5 or 10 years ago. Peter.
It doesn't. I mean, I'm fairly certain it still goes, right?
I guess. I mean, it's
around Christmas,
it's a timeless commercial. So let's not kid ourselves, but that one sticks in my head a lot.
That strikes a chord. Those are the commercials I hate. Is the Christmas commercials and Valentine's Day commercials where these car companies like Lexus and Mercedes pretend like we can just buy cars for people for holidays as gifts.
That's what Danielle and I always make that comment. And I look at her and she's like, oh, can I have my Lexus for Christmas? And I'm like, look, I can't even afford the boat that's on that car.
Right. Right. Because look, first of all, if you're a normal person, buying a car is a big decision. And if you're in a relationship with someone, you don't make that decision alone.
Exactly. 100%. Ding, ding, ding.
That is a huge financial commitment. And most people I know, if you were to buy them a car, like if you were in a relationship and you unilaterally decide to buy the other person a car, it's not something to be grateful. It's like, dude, why did you make this decision? Why did you make this gigantic financial decision on your own? Why did we not discuss this? We have finances that we need to take care of. We have bills we need to pay. That's out of line.
And and it's kind of sad too. The people that look like in that commercial where they's like, oh, I bought this brand new Mercedes SUV for my wife that obviously cost $90,000 or more. And it's like, those people look like they just walked in the dealership and just wrote a check and was like, here you go.
Right.
And unfortunately, it also, to me, it preys upon people that are like, oh, well, I guess I need to go make this purchase. And it's like, you're obviously not in a position to have a $2,000 a month car payment.
Right.
And I know for a fact there are people that get themselves into that kind of mess.
Right.
And it's a sin. But no, I 100% agree. I don't like those. I know Danielle doesn't. And I know a lot of other people don't. They're disgusting.
They're predatory.
Yeah.
They're absolutely predatory. And the thing is, you want to talk about, people can say whatever they want. Oh, the war on Christmas, the war on this, the war on that. No, man, you know who's fucked up and you know who's really destroying Christmas is ads like that where you're making people feel guilty and making people feel like what they're doing and what they're able to provide for their families and their loved ones isn't enough, because there's people on TV giving their significant others a fucking car, a luxury fucking car that costs more than some people's fucking houses.
Yeah. Yeah. No, dude, 100%. And it's crazy because I was talking about this recently with somebody, and we're looking at like the cost of certain things, and now it's gotten to a point where it's like, my God, that boat, which isn't like crazy, like we're talking like pontoon boats type stuff, is closer to the price of what I paid for my first house. And I bought my first house 16 years ago now. It's been some time. But it's crazy to think about that. And so, yeah, same thing. Like exactly like you just said. It's like, I can't imagine just making a commitment like that. For something like that, it just boggles my mind how people do that. I guess unless they're, athletes or whatever, but that's neither here nor there, in a different conversation. However, it's like to make that commitment by themselves.
Right.
And thinking that it's going to be completely okay. Like, no, I don't know.
I mean, that's a conversation that you have to have with your significant other. You have to know 100% that they're behind it. And basically they need to ask you like, "Hey honey, I really like that new Mercedes SLK whatever. I'd really like that." And then you have to have the money in the bank. You have to have the means to do it. And I guess it's like anything else where if you don't have the means, you shouldn't do it and you should know that. But the fact of the matter is Christmas is so commercialized. Everything is so commercialized now that people are getting in above their heads to try and make a memorable Christmas or
And
make
people,
a memorable birthday.
because I'm like this, I know you have this tendency, and I know a lot of our friends have this tendency because it's just part of how we grew up, honestly. People are impulsive as hell.
Yeah,
So it's like, oh, I'm going to go do this. Now, obviously, I'm not going to,
right.
because I can be impulsive on buying, like, oh, I want this nice beer that I really want to, I don't want to spend it, but I'll spend my $20 on a 4-pack or whatever because it's something I really, really want. Or I see this video game that, it's a collector's edition, but I'm like, you know what? I thought about just buying the regular one, but I'm going to splurge this time. That, to me, that's my level.
Right. Yeah, we're not impulsive on the level of, let's just go fly to Hawaii for the day.
Yeah, no big
like,
deal, but yeah, no, and that's the thing. You're right. I agree. They're predatory on a part of the population, especially those of us that are impulsive. So that's just, it's not a good combination.
No.
Wow. So that went well. We went from Peter at Folgers coming home for Christmas to
Fuck the car company.
All right, let's finish up with some good ones though, man. And dude, there have been some classic Super Bowl commercials over the years. We could dive into some of those. But like, do you have any front and center in your head that just are like, man, I go back and I pull these up on YouTube, or I think about them sometimes?
Terry Tate, office linebacker.
Yes, 100% agree. Best commercial of all time.
Terry
Doesn't get any
Tate,
better.
office linebacker. That's dude. That if you want to talk about like local commercials and stuff, Trunk Monkey.
Trunk Monkey.
Have you ever seen Trunk Monkey?
No, I've
Oh
never
my
heard of
God.
Trunk Monkey.
I can't. All right, so it's not something that translates well to audio. So I'm not gonna like play it right now. But I highly suggest that after we're done, or even after we stop recording, I'll bring them up on YouTube for you and let you see it.
Okay.
Holy hell, it's so funny. And there's a whole series of Trunk Monkey commercials.
Oh, good. I like to see, and that's And I'm down with the series commercials. Obviously, Terry Tate, there was like 10 of them. I mean,
I wish there was a Terry Tate show.
So I pulled up after I went through the thing out there for commercials. I pulled up a couple of the Terry Tate videos. Man, I was just dying. But the website that's mentioned on those is returnofterrytate.com. And I was like, ooh, I wonder if that's available. Of course, it would be like expensive, but I was just curious. And it actually links to a Liquid IV now.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they picked up the domain at some point. But
okay.
Yeah. I thought it would just link back to Reebok.
But, yeah, I would figure that too.
But I guess Reebok
let it lapse.
Yeah, and plus I think they've had some financial things too. So
Reebok is Adidas and what the hell is the other one now? They got Puma? Swallowed by somebody, by a bunch like it's them and like 2 or 3 other footwear brands are now Adidas.
Yeah, I knew it was. Oh yeah, the Authentic Brands Group as their parent. I don't know. Oh yeah, so okay, yeah, it's Reebok. Let's see. Yeah, so the Authentic Brands took them over in 2021 and finally acquired them. Yeah, so they acquired Reebok from Adidas.
Oh, okay. So they're not the same. Okay, so they're not the same.
They were still worth some money too. They acquired them in the end of 2021, August of 2021. Acquisition finalized 22 for $2.5 billion. So there's still some money there. Actually, and I know we're talking commercials here, but I think this is fitting too with brands. Now that we've talked Reebok, So I was pulling through my garage about a month ago or so, and I had a shoebox that was inside of a box. It was taped very well together, and it was marked cards on it. And I was like, "Oh, there's got to be some really nice cards in here." And there wasn't, but the shoebox brought more memories back than anything else. British Knights.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew it. I had a pair. I had at least one pair of British Knights.
They still sell them, by the way.
Do they?
Yeah, I looked them up. I was curious, and yeah, it still exists. So
I had British Knights. I had a lot of the It brand, and then I had some that were not so much. I remember having British Knights. Obviously, everybody had Converse. I had a bunch of different Converse. I had Converse with dinosaurs on them. I had Keds when they had the glow in the dark comet on the side of them. I had, let's see, I don't remember the other ones, but I do remember I had Fila's when they were like the hot shit.
yeah, I remember when I got my first pair, and I thought I was like, yeah.
I had, but then on the flip side, I had instead of the pump, I had the LA Gear, whatever their thing was. It was a pump up shoe, like a blow up shoe, but it wasn't. I don't remember what the hell it was called.
Let's see. I'm looking up some images now. Yeah, it had the pump. They had a pump, but it was like a half.
Almost like a half circle.
Yeah, half circle, half basketball looking thing.
Yeah, it was like the accelerator or something like that. Or
wow, it's so funny looking at those shoes from back then too. My goodness.
I had, instead of the Jordans, I had the Patrick Ewings.
Patrick Ewings had a shoe. Shaq had a shoe.
Yeah. Patrick Ewing's, though, I don't even remember what brand it was other than Patrick Ewing. Like, it wasn't Nike. It was just straight up Patrick Ewing. And like, it had one of those Velcro strap, like you lace it up and it had one of those Velcro straps that went across the middle of your foot, and it had a 33 on it.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so I just looked it up real quick too. In 1989, Patrick began his own shoe company called Ewing Athletics.
There you go. Yeah, I had them.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's legit. So yeah, you're right. They weren't branded because that was his brand.
Yeah. So I had some of them. I was a trailblazer, man.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually, I was trying to think of some of the ones that I had. The British Knights, obviously. I remember getting a feel as I was probably middle school, and I thought, man, I was on top of the world.
Yeah, I was I 8th grade or 9th grade when I had that? Or maybe I was 10th grade.
I remember getting Nikes in high school for the first time. I do remember having like all white, like the Nike Air Force Ones, or whatever they were.
Okay.
Back in the day, like I had a pair of those and thought they were cool then. Now God knows, like now they're, one of those shoes that people buy and customize and whatever.
Right.
The ones I always wanted though, man, those Nike McFlies.
Yeah.
Feature 2. I always wanted those, man, so badly.
Yeah.
Alas,
I was never like a big sneakerhead, but that would have been cool to have those.
I wasn't either. The only pair of sneakers I ever sneaker shoes that I ever bought that was, to me, spending money on. And so I bought a pair of the Jaws Sperry loafers. And they came out, I think, in 16, 17, whatever. They came out for one summer. And I discovered them like a year after they came out. So, of course, they had already stopped selling them, whatever. So I hunted on eBay for like a year. But I was like, I'm not paying like through the nose for these things because I know what they originally cost. Like, I know they were like $60, $70. So I pulled a pair. I think I got them for like 80 or 90. And I'll pull them out for like summertime, like 4th of July, whatever. That's like the one time. Otherwise, like I've worn basically right now, my daily is a $25 pair of discounted Hey Dudes. That are currently drying because I just washed them for the 10th time.
Yeah, I need to wash my God, how old are those? I have a pair of Skechers that are like kind of like Hey Dudes, and I've got to wash them because they just got doused in antifreeze. So
Yeah, that's the thing I like about those, man. They just pull the laces, pull the insoles, and boom, throw them right in the wash machine.
Yeah.
But
Well, these ones that I have are, I think I've had them since 2017 maybe, and they work.
yeah,
I got them for I think I paid somewhere between $40 and $50 for them, and I've had them since then. And I can just throw them in the wash.
yeah.
Get and it's no big deal. Like, you can't beat that.
No, and I think that kind of wraps our conversation up nicely because we talked about how we have those crazy people that in the commercials anyway that'll buy cars for people, and
Yeah.
we've kind of rolled this into shoes because we've been talking about branding. Man, you talk about sneakerheads.
We're
mean,
like
we
anti sneaker.
Yeah, I'm not at all. But my goodness, some of the people, wow, the money that's spent.
Oh yeah.
Holy Lord!
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't even look at a Jordan shoebox, let alone.
Yeah, no. You have to sign up for a 3-year payment plan to even look at them.
Holy God! And for whatever reason, some of my video feeds, I'll see some of that stuff, and I think it's really cool. I mean, it's
Yeah.
don't get me wrong. I teach their own. Some people collect cards, some people like coins, and some people whatever they're going to do.
Right.
But wow, it's like, holy crap, of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 on or more on one pair of shoes because it's like some short print, rare color.
Right.
The lace tip is something funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
It
It says Supreme on it.
yeah, it's this insane world, and I'm sure there's podcasts that are like devoted to it. So, whatever. Shout out to those of you that are doing that stuff.
Good on you.
But no, yeah, no. I don't know. This was fun. Like, it was a trip down memory lane. I didn't think we'd get to the Incredible Crash Dummies, but we did. I don't know. Let's see. We got any commercial jingles to shut us down with? Any top of your head?
Let's see. Fuck Dallas.